What really happens to your gut when you skip breakfast for just 1 week? You've probably heard it your whole life: breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But lately, that advice has been challenged. Between the rise of intermittent fasting and busy morning routines, millions of people are skipping breakfast daily and swearing they feel fine. But here's the hidden twist: your gut, the microscopic world of trillions of bacteria living inside you, doesn't exactly agree. Because when you suddenly stop eating in the morning, something unexpected happens deep in your digestive system. Your gut microbes, the tiny life forms that help control your metabolism, cravings, and even your mood, begin to panic. They enter what scientists call a fasting stress mode. And that shift could quietly change how your body handles hunger, sugar, and inflammation, in ways that might surprise you. So, what does skipping breakfast really do to your gut? Is it actually helping you stay healthy, or slowly throwing your system off balance? Let's start with a simple morning scenario. It's 8 a.m. You wake up, pour yourself a cup of coffee, maybe scroll your phone, and think, "I'll just eat later." By noon, you finally grab something quick, maybe a sandwich or a pastry, and call that your first meal. Seems harmless, right? You just delayed breakfast by a few hours. But inside your body, the clock is ticking. Your gut microbiome, that massive ecosystem living in your intestines, runs on a rhythm. It's like a city that wakes up and goes to sleep on schedule. Every morning, when you eat, it receives a wake-up call that tells your gut bacteria it's time to get to work, digesting, producing energy, and balancing hormones. When you skip that cue, it's like hitting the snooze button on your gut's biological clock. And here's the part most people miss: your gut microbes don't just help with digestion, they talk to your brain, control your hunger hormones, and even influence how you absorb nutrients later in the day. So when you go without breakfast for several days, your gut bacteria begin to adapt, but not in a good way. They start shifting from growth and repair mode into survival and conservation mode. That might sound fine at first, but this microbial shift can ripple throughout your entire metabolism. Because once your gut goes into fasting stress mode, your hunger hormones, like ghrelin and leptin, start to act differently too. And that's where things get interesting, and a little concerning to understand what happens next. Let's zoom in, not on your stomach, but on your gut microbes, those invisible partners that make up nearly 70% of your immune system. Every morning, when food arrives, your gut bacteria get to work breaking down carbohydrates, fibers, and fats. This morning feast doesn't just fuel you, it fuels them. And in return, they produce beneficial compounds like short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, that strengthen your gut lining, lower inflammation, and even improve brain focus. But when you stop eating breakfast, and do this for several days, these microbes start running on empty. Imagine a bustling city where no deliveries arrive for a week. Streetlights dim, workers slow down, and the whole system becomes a little less efficient. Without those early nutrients, certain beneficial bacteria, especially ones that rely on dietary fiber and prebiotics, start to decrease. Meanwhile, a different group, known as fasting-resilient microbes, take over. These are bacteria that thrive when food is scarce. They're not necessarily harmful, but they change how your body responds to food when you finally do eat. Because when lunch finally comes around, these microbes send your metabolism a message: store this. We don't know when the next meal's coming. Your blood sugar spikes higher than usual. Insulin surges to catch up. And those once friendly gut microbes? They start producing fewer anti-inflammatory compounds and more byproducts linked to gut permeability, or what some scientists call leaky gut. And that's not all. The lack of morning food also changes the timing of your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock that controls everything from hormone release to digestion speed. Your gut isn't just sitting there waiting for food, it actually expects it at certain times. Skipping breakfast repeatedly can desynchronize that rhythm, leading to sluggish digestion, irregular bowel movements, and eventually, low-grade inflammation that can affect your mood and energy levels. Here's where things take a surprising turn. In 2023, a study published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that people who skipped breakfast for just 7 days showed measurable changes in their gut microbiome composition, and not for the better. Specifically, researchers saw a drop in bifidobacteria and Akkermansia, two species linked with gut protection and metabolic balance. These microbes are known for maintaining the gut lining and preventing inflammation. Without them, harmful bacteria can more easily release toxins into the bloodstream, a phenomenon known as metabolic endotoxemia. What does that mean for you? It means skipping breakfast doesn't just delay your meal, it can literally make your gut barrier leaky, allowing tiny inflammatory molecules to seep out. The result? You may start to feel more tired, more bloated, and paradoxically, hungrier later in the day. Because your gut, now in stress mode, starts producing signals that amplify cravings, especially for quick energy foods like sugar and refined carbs, you're not weak-willed. Your biology is simply trying to survive. Let's imagine this: it's the 5th morning you've skipped breakfast. You tell yourself you re-saving time, or maybe you re-following an intermittent fasting plan you saw online. But by mid-afternoon, you notice something: you're irritable, craving something sweet, and oddly, more tired than usual. This isn't just in your head. When your gut microbes shift into fasting stress mode, your hunger-regulating hormones start firing off mixed signals. Your levels of ghrelin, the hormone that tells your brain, "I am hungry," spike sharply around late morning and early afternoon. Meanwhile, leptin, the hormone that tells you when you're full, becomes less sensitive. That hormonal mismatch makes you crave calorie-dense foods later in the day, especially sugar and fat, because your body is trying to compensate for that earlier fuel shortage. Over time, this can snowball into a cycle of erratic eating, insulin spikes, and even low-grade inflammation, all quietly rooted in your gut. But there's more. Skipping breakfast also alters cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. Normally, cortisol peaks in the morning to help you wake up and gradually tapers off through the day. But without breakfast, that peak lasts longer, keeping your body in a mild fight-or-flight state. High cortisol doesn't just raise stress, it directly affects your gut barrier, making it more permeable, and it reduces blood flow to your digestive organs. That means even when you do eat, your gut might not digest or absorb nutrients as efficiently. And the consequences don't end there. Researchers have found that consistently skipping breakfast can lower the diversity of gut microbes, a key marker of gut health. Lower diversity has been linked with metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, and even mood disorders like anxiety and depression. Because yes, your gut and your brain are in constant conversation through the gut-brain axis. So when your microbiome falls out of balance, it doesn't just affect your digestion. It can subtly influence your emotional state, motivation, and even how you handle stress. That's why some people who skip breakfast regularly report feeling more anxious, less focused, and prone to afternoon crashes. Not because they rely low on willpower, but because their gut chemistry and hormonal signals have shifted out of sync. Still, it's not all bad news. There is a way to skip or delay breakfast without wrecking your gut health, but it requires one crucial adjustment most people overlook. Here's the truth: skipping breakfast isn't automatically bad, but how you do it makes all the difference. Your gut doesn't just need calories in the morning, it needs consistency, fiber, hydration, and a signal that the day has begun. So if you prefer delaying your first meal, you can still keep your microbiome happy, as long as you follow a few key steps. First, let's talk about timing. Your gut thrives on rhythm. That means eating your first meal around the same time each day, even if it's late morning or early afternoon. This helps your gut bacteria learn when to expect nutrients, keeping their internal clock, and yours, synchronized. Second, when you do eat, make it count. If your first meal is a sugary pastry or just coffee, you're sending your gut microbes into chaos. Instead, build a microbiome-friendly breakfast, or first meal, one rich in fiber, protein, and healthy fats. Think oats or chia pudding with fruit and nuts, Greek yogurt with flax seeds, eggs with avocado and whole grain toast. These foods feed the beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, like butyrate, and propionate, compounds that reduce inflammation, boost mood, and help regulate your appetite later in the day. Third, hydrate before you caffeinate. Your gut lining and microbes are extremely sensitive to dehydration, especially in the morning. Drinking water, or even warm lemon water, before your first cup of coffee helps maintain the mucus layer that protects your gut wall. Coffee on an empty stomach, by contrast, increases acidity and cortisol, which, over time, can worsen gut irritation and stress responses. And finally, don't forget light and movement. Your circadian rhythm, and your guts, is regulated not just by food, but also by sunlight and physical activity. So, if you're skipping breakfast, step outside, stretch, or take a short walk. That light exposure sends your brain and gut the message: it's daytime, start the engines. By combining consistent timing, real food, hydration, and morning light, you give your microbiome the cues it needs, even without eating immediately after waking up. In fact, some research shows that controlled time-restricted eating, like a delayed breakfast, can actually benefit your gut, as long as it doesn't lead to nutrient gaps or chronic stress. The key is balance, not extremes. Because your gut isn't asking for a massive breakfast at 7 a.m. It's simply asking for predictability and nourishment. So whether you eat at 8 a.m. or 11 a.m., the question isn't if you skip breakfast, it's whether your gut still feels supported when you do.